Welcome back, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
And tonight's date is Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. And going to be talking about Buckeye Camp.
Welcome back to the bar.
Yeah, welcome back to the bar. We're in our little bar studio. No Skype calls tonight. But anyway, so we're going to head into tonight's show. So on our last show, we talked a little bit about the pending conference expansion. So we have clarity on that now. So we're just going to talk a little bit about Oregon, Washington joining the Big Ten. Then we'll talk about the Buckeyes getting another commitment. And then some of our thoughts on some of the stuff we've been hearing on Sonny Styles on defense, and then offensive line and the quarterback battle on offense. So sound good?
Oh, yeah. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. You know, it's been a pretty entertaining couple days. I like getting all the Buckeye information we've been getting over now that camp's in full swings and things. I've been listening to a lot of the different beat podcasts and stuff like that. So just an exciting time of year. Can't wait for the season to kick off. We're getting closer and closer. It'll be 2 weeks this coming Saturday till kickoff. So
yeah, I can't believe it.
Yeah. So it is literally right around the corner. That will be weird. 3:30 kickoff on CBS. So I'm assuming we're getting Danielson and Nessler, even though they haven't technically said the crew, but
I think they did announce it today.
They finally announced it. Okay. So yeah, we were assuming that one because I think Northwestern, whoever they're playing that day, is also on CBS. I'm like, yeah, I don't see Danielson and Nessler going to that game. So
no, sir.
Yeah. So we're going to get the CBS crew. So that will be different. And kicking off this season, Buckeyes number 3 in the AP poll and number 4 in the coaches poll. So that's where they're going to start the season.
I hope Nessler and Danielson are already in SEC mode for this Big Ten game, that, if Ohio State is struggling, it's just going to be because of the power of the conference. It's going to be because of how good Indiana is and how talented they really are, is why they're challenging such a great team like Ohio State. Not that Ohio State needs to clean up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Well, they better be, because, they are a conference TV partner now. So, it's time to start ponying up and giving the homerism to the Big Ten on that one. All righty. So speaking of the Big Ten, when we've last left you guys, there was a lot of up in the air what was getting ready to happen, for conference expansion. Actually was after that show, got even crazier through that night into the next morning, where it seemed like the whole conference, the Pac-12, was going to stay together. It sounded like the news stories going into the morning was that Oregon and Washington were going to stay with the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 was going to stay together. The 2 Arizona schools in Utah was going to, basically everybody was going to stay kumbaya together until the end, at least for another TV deal. And then just out of nowhere, from everything we're hearing, is that Oregon is the one that blinked at the last minute, and they're the ones that changed their minds, and Washington then changed their minds, and then domino after domino after domino. So I don't know. We don't know. Nobody really knows. We even heard why Oregon changed their mind at the last minute. I've been saying, partially kiddingly, partially seriously, that Phil Knight made one last phone call and told Oregon that they were going to the Big Ten, that they were going to accept the Big Ten money, and that was that. And so Oregon, Washington coming to the Big Ten. I don't know how they're going to do right now with all sports. I still think it's kind of crazy that, them blowing up these conferences. We've said before in this show that I don't understand why this can't just be a football only thing, and then everything else kind of stay conferences. But, they don't pay us to, come up with that kind of stuff. So that they, it is what it is. But I know in football, which is where we mostly talk about, the conference got better. So, you're going to get a lot more Ohio State versus Oregons and Washingtons, and Iowa versus Oregon and Washingtons. Then you get, Rutgers versus Iowa now, or Rutgers versus Illinois. That, it balances out the conference a lot more, especially with USC, UCLA coming in. So more games on the schedule that are going to be worthwhile. Some big games. I mean, you look at the top 15 right now. USC, Oregon, and Washington are joining Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan in the top 15 in both polls. So that's, going forward, I would only assume that, I would think Washington's going to be able to really hold their own in the conference. What Oregon's been over the last, 2 decades pretty much. And USC, if they can get back to the PD days under Lincoln, I mean, it's going to be a really fun conference.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, exciting. Just level of competition in the Big Ten, of course, adds a lot more than what used to be there as far as, variety of just style of play and talent in the division. or in the conference. Of course, you're going to you're going to have Lincoln in there. Chip Kelly's always going to be able kind of, develop quarterbacks, recruit good quarterbacks. Lincoln's always going to get top end guys, like best in the country type guys like Ryan does. So yeah, it's going to be interesting competition. I'm looking really forward to it. And then, of course, we only got the 1 year left, and then these guys come on over.
Yep. So we get that, and then you're going to get the 12-team playoff also, which, I know there's a lot of, it's the one thing that we've definitely differed from some of the, the college football purists. We're definitely a college football purist when it comes to the traditions. We'd love to see, more of the traditions stay in, but the other stuff I've always said, I would rather see it be a more of a pure style, kind of like NFL style playoffs where, you can lose a game or two during the regular season. And, Ohio State from the BC era on, they would have made the playoffs every year, except, the 2011 season and the 04 and Trestle's first 01 season. So every other year, Ohio State would have been in a 12-team playoff. So,
99 and 2000.
Yeah. So we'll say from Trestle on.
Trestle forward,
yeah. So, and then when you think about, so that's a lot of playoff games there for Ohio State, and maybe they don't win the 2 national titles that they won, but maybe they win other ones. Who knows? Yeah. It's crazy to think about. They had some really good teams in there that, could have possibly played for the national title. And then you think about the other teams in the conference. I mean, how many playoffs would have Wisconsin have been in over the years? Right. Iowa, the years that they've had good teams would have made playoffs. And so, I mean, it's good for the Big Ten as a whole that they're going to get, at minimum, they're going to get 5 teams into these playoffs probably every year, especially you got to kind of think that the at-large bids are going to, whether it's on this TV deal or the next one, are going bye-byes. I just don't see the SEC and the Big Ten playing ball with the other schools on that one. So, especially when they know that they could probably easily pull 5 teams minimum into the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting on that. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, though, we are traditionalists, but it's the way it was going. Like they already tried to, make fixes to this in the years ago. They got rid of just like bowls and voting, and then it actually went to a, national title game. And then they realized there's usually another team or two that's in contention. So they went to a 4-team playoff. But yeah, this one might have been all about money, but at least the SEC and the Big Ten are actually like making this, though, with their expansion. I think it's the only way to really make a 12-team playoff work. So I like it. I think it's good for the sport. Maybe not great for, people that are just strictly purists, like stick to all traditional values of college football, but college football's changed so much. I mean, it was the same game for 80 years, and then the last 30, it's just been, it's evolving every day.
Yeah, we've had a lot of changes from the start of the BCS forward. So, I mean, they've kind of thrown a lot of the traditions out the window. They might as well go now to where it's, if you lose a game or two, you're going to play some big time conference games. And I mean, you think about what probably some of these playoff matchups are going to look like going forward, or it's going to be pretty crazy. So, excited on all that stuff. It's still interesting to see how they kind of work out with all the other sports, but that there's not as many headaches, but I'm sure they'll come up with some creative stuff with that. And I'm interested to see how they do the schedules, with that going forward too, for the football schedules, because since they pretty much have to rip up the one that they came up with already.
Right.
All right. So wide receiver, Ohio State's wide receiver it's been that way now for how many years? So Jeremiah McClellan, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. He is committed to Ohio State. Another big wide receiver for the 24 class coming in. So, I mean, what can you say? Brian Hartline just does not miss on these guys, it seems like. And, it's just another receiver to that room. Just thought process on that one is just crazy. But
I mean, 23, greatest room he would ever assemble. Never going to have a class better than that. And then 24 is probably on par with that, one less guy, but probably a better class.
Yeah. And, we figured it does seem like there's been some movement in the class that's below this class that's that's getting ready to graduate. That it seems like some of those guys are, either already left or will be leaving.
The 22 kids?
Yeah, the 22 kids. So 23, 24, I mean, you're going to lose 3 kids off this class, this are going to graduate this coming year.
Well, you're losing Marvin, Emeka, Fleming, and then, Xavier Johnson will be gone.
Yeah, so, there is going to be some attrition. So the guys that they signed in 23 and for coming up for 24, if they hold these guys, it's, they will have spots for them. So, but it's, still a full room.
Yeah. And then, you got to figure, as good as you've heard about Carnell Tate, if Ballard doesn't get significant playing time this year, the guy's got to do what's right for him. So, of course, I never like to talk into existence a player transferring, throw him out there like that. That's just, it's rude to do. But, it's a consideration, I think, for him at that point.
Yeah. And what you're hearing about Tate and
Ennis and both Rogers.
Yeah. The Rogers non-brothers are looking. Noah
Rogers, it just.
Yeah,
you just assume everything the kid does is on a skill level of 100 because I haven't seen him make one easy catch in practice, but they're all amazing. He catches all of them.
Yeah. So I'm pretty obviously still pretty excited about that room. We'll talk offense here a little bit later in the show, but just Freak Central. That's been that way now for how many years, and it just seems like it's getting crazier.
This is on par with Georgia, Alabama running back recruiting.
Yeah,
it might even surpass those. I can't remember who I heard say it the other day, but they said this is like Pete Carroll in the heyday.
It seems a little different because Pete's offense. They're not exactly the same, but they're similar. It seems like that was the team I was thinking of. I'm like, this kind of thing seems like those stretch of wide receiver classes that USC had.
Yeah, it's insane.
Everybody always, they had some really good quarterbacks there too, but a lot of people kind of overlook how just really good those receiver classes were. And, they were loaded. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of what it feels like that, it's like, every dime out there, you got 3 5-star wide receivers that are lining up on the field. So, that's just nuts and just crazy to think of. So exciting time still happening with the Buckeyes come receiver. So camp, it's kind of cool to start to talk football now that, so obviously there's been a lot of things coming out. Some of the media has gotten to see some of the practices. Some fans were allowed actually just a few of the practices this year.
First 2 days.
So, that was really cool. I kind of agree with some people that have talked about that as, I kind of hope going forward that still becomes a thing. It just seems like a no brainer at a point. You might as well just keep on going down this road if
I wonder what do you think the max is someone would pay? Because what was it, $30 for that?
Yeah,
probably 50 you could get away with.
Yeah, I would think so.
I personally I wouldn't pay $100 to watch a practice, but that's me. I'm cheap.
I've had we could go to Browns camp whenever we want, and we've never done that. So
I'd much prefer Ohio State.
I know, me too, but I'm just saying that it's just not something that I'm big into.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done a spring game before. Maybe once I would like to maybe go down for a spring game, but it's just I like listening to all the hoopla and stuff like that, and all the different speculations of what's going on, but I don't know. It's just not my thing. You know, of course, you know, they open it up starting next year. Who knows? I will never say never because, you know, I've done more crazier spontaneous things in my life than just be like, I'm going to go buy Ohio State practice tickets.
Now, that was general public or was that just students?
I thought they sold some as Gem Pub, but I could be wrong on that one. I know that
it probably was.
I heard different people on
because they usually do like a student appreciation day.
Yeah, I think this was different though.
Yeah,
and but yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one. But it is cool. So we're gonna talk defense. We'll start off with the defense. Specifically, we're gonna talk about the guy that offense, defense, special teams, coaches, it doesn't matter. Anybody that is getting interviewed on this team right now, it seems like the name Sonny Styles is the first name out of their mouth. And I mean, so you're just kind of going off what you're hearing from the media guys, from the interviews, that this dude who should be only a freshman this year seems like he's literally everywhere on the field.
Yeah.
And that they are going to have to do everything they can to make sure he's in there pretty much all the time, which is crazy because it kind of seems like that they've been playing him some at Sam. They've been switching him up. I believe I've heard he's at different points have played all three of the safety positions. You know, who knows? They might be trotting him out there cornerback. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it is just pure freakness from what we're hearing about him. And it's getting me excited to see what the hell is going to become this season. That I think they let this kid play, and we'll here in a second we'll talk a little bit about Hicks too. But they get these playmakers on the field, and you know, I think this defense, you know, and they might need to carry the offense a little bit. They get the offense, you know, up to speed because you know they're going to be starting some new pieces at very important parts. So you know, Sonny Styles. And just what we're hearing.
Yeah, I mean, you need dudes on the field. I've said that for years about the defenses. That's kind of just what's been lacking, especially in the back end of our defenses. We just don't have dudes anymore. And that's not to be disrespectful to the guys that have been there the last couple years, but you got athletic freaks, man. You got to get them out there. I mean, these guys are ball hawks. They are big, they're strong, they're fast. You know, they got everything you want. Sonny understands the game. I mean, he held his own as a 17-year-old for whenever he got in last year. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely just right there with you, as excited as can be. I have told you, I think, you know, when he's in the nickel safety, I really feel like that's going to be against your bigger teams like your Notre Dames and your Michigans,
Penn State, Wisconsin,
guys that really, you know how to utilize and like to utilize their tight ends. Whereas I feel like, you know, what's the best bet for them when they play a team with a Purdue, even though I don't know what Purdue style is going to be this year, honestly, because I don't know much about their new coach. But when you play a team that's going to have that natural slot receiver, you know, maybe a little guy that's harder for him to keep with, even though they say he can, I think he's going to go deep safety. And then I would really like to see them utilize a third cornerback in that situation. I don't love the idea of having a safety covering slot guys. And I've talked to you about that. So I don't need to go too much into it. I just don't know if Ohio State, their entire safety room is athletic enough to ask them to do that or good enough in coverage. I mean, I know they're high on what Cam Martinez can do.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see Jordan Hancock in there.
I don't disagree with you. And we've actually, you know, some people have mentioned it. Hancock has been doing some stuff with slot receivers in practice. So maybe against some of these passing teams and against, you know, on passing downs, maybe they are planning on taking the third safety out and putting a third corner in. And I'm fine with that.
Or Igbenogson, either one, you know, like if he's the slot guy, that's fine.
Yeah. It's like if whoever they think is the better out of the ones, like if, you know, I think it kind of in their thoughts, it kind of makes sense that, you know, right now that, you know, that bigger safety room. I mean, we were just naming them off, and they play Minnesota this year. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Like, so they do play some bigger teams this year on the schedule.
It's not an easy schedule.
So that I don't necessarily disagree with having that type of look because you're going to be playing a lot of kind of more standard Big Ten tight ends. And so like, but at the same time, I think also having possibly that situation where it'd be like, hey, you know, when we play these passing teams and possibly when we get into the playoffs, you know, maybe we will, you know, take out one of the safeties and move our three corners onto the field. And that's a situation if it works. And obviously that, I mean, it's a different type of defense because they only played 4 DBs instead of 5 DBs. But, you know, you think back to 2019, that was a great defense and they had 3 great corners with a great back safety that could do it. 2020 was different. And so it's just that slot corner just was not up to the same standards. And they probably should have went back to a more standard 2 corner, 2 safety defense. Yeah. And, you know, so if these 3 corners, I mean, they're all really good. I mean, from everything we're hearing about Hancock now, it's like it's pretty much been slipped out that he was going to be the starter last year. And, you know, his injury pretty much kind of screwed that over. And that, you know, I mean, he was going to take the job from Cam Brown. And so, I mean, multiple people have reported that now from just things that have come out of camp. So they're really high on Hancock. So, and it, you know, Denzel Burke, it sounds like he's been a baller. Same with, and I can't pronounce his last name.
Igbinosun.
Yeah, Igbinosun.
Davison Igbinosun.
Yeah. You know, he's the kid from Ole Miss. So that it sounds like they're all been really big time ballers. So maybe in the situation, yeah, you know, in some situations, it's 2 corners, 3 safeties, and other situations, 3 corners, 2 safeties. I don't care as long as it works. And so, you know, and if the defensive coaches can recognize when those situations happen, so they know how to move the personnel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. That's, I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal is to be varied and guys can do multiple things. And that's why, like, I know Knowles likes that about the versatility of his safeties, that he feels like, you know, I think he wants to trot out 3 guys that from play to play, he can switch their alignment on the field that, all right, you are the nickel on this play, you're the bandit on this play, and then vice versa, flop them, whatever. The following play, I just don't always know if, and I got to see more of Jihad Carter and, you know.
And we're hearing good things about him.
Yes, yeah. And Lathan Ransom, I mean, I think he can cover guys. I know he had a rough slip in the Peach Bowl. But he's bulked up a little bit too. So I don't know if that slowed him down at all. Hopefully not. But, you know, he's just growing into his body too, I'm sure. Just mixed workout plans catching up with him. He was injured last offseason.
I think against a lot of the teams that are playing the Big Ten, those 3 safeties that you just announced made a lot of sense. And I think, though, where these 3 cornerbacks are coming in is that when they go to these more of some of these pass friendly.
I mean,
teams,
Western Kentucky, I know they don't scare you, but they throw the ball like 60 times a game.
So is it, I think it comes down, do you trust, it's not so much the 3 starting safeties, and we're assuming that these 3 guys are the starting safeties. It's, do you trust Cam Martinez in some of those situations? And I like him. They
said he looks good.
I like him. I'll
believe it.
It's just, is Hancock, Igbinosun, and Burke, are they a better than Cam Martinez being out there? And if it is yes, and they can play the 3 of those guys together, then yes, that is the type of defense they should be running in those situations. So I agree with you on that one.
Because you know why? Because I think Burke showed last year he's willing to come up and hit people. I don't know how old Hancock is, but I know Igbinosun's like that. So if those guys are willing to come up to stop the run like Wade and Okuda and Arnett were in 19, I think that's your strongest bet right there. Now, that's all depending, though, is the 3rd corner willing to come up and make the hit?
Yeah.
So if they're not, then I don't know. But I much rather, especially in today's football, have 3 corners on the field that know how to cover man-to-man than 3 safeties.
And especially when you think back to 2019, you know, what made Wade so effective in that defense is that he was such a bully.
Yeah, exactly.
Against the slot receivers. And you know you're going to be playing undersized guys. So if that's Hancock and he's willing to be, you know, a mugger, then yeah, that defense will work really, really, really well. And so, yeah, I think that just reading between the lines, they're just gonna kind of the personnel they're going up against, and those three corners, that might be what they really need when they go win the national title. That might be the grand plan, is that we're playing a lot of, it's not traditional Big Ten, but we're playing much more traditional Big Ten this year than maybe we've played in years past. And so let's have the three big safeties out there when we need them, and then maybe rotate a third corner in there in passing downs. And then when they play the more passing teams, maybe play that 3 corner set more and just get it ready for come playoff time. And, I'm 100% okay. If they can get it to work and it works good in both situations, I'm 100% good with that.
Yeah. And I'm very confident in the secondary as a whole also.
I like them all. It seems like we've been
sounds like they got 7 safeties that they trust.
And
3 corners.
It's really nice to hear about the corner stuff we've been spoiled with some of the corners we've had here, and it's just the last few years just not at the same level. And it seems like they're getting there back to possibly where they were in 2019 and earlier. And I love hearing that. Like,
it sounds like Walton, it sounds like they're taking to his teaching maybe a little bit better this year. I mean, last year when the ball was in the air, it wasn't even just Burke. Like, they were lost when the ball was in the air. So I hope that's cleaned up a lot. I mean, it needs to be. It needs to be cleaned up. It's not that I hope it needs to be cleaned up to have a chance.
I mean, we had some.
It's been a rough couple years with the secondary.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just real quick before we move to the offensive side of the ball, I mean, we listened to some of the offensive linemen talk. What was it yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, Kenyatta Jackson's name came up a bunch of times. They got to figure out how to get him on the field, and they need to figure out how to get CJ Hicks on the field. So that's, and God, what's his face?
God.
Oh, who's the 4th linebacker? I'm hearing
Cody Simon.
They're talking about him a lot too. And so, we've always had, I don't want to see a 6-man linebacker rotation, but I think they could have a 4-man linebacker rotation. And that's considering that Styles might be playing linebacker every now and then.
Yeah.
And so, which, if you can figure it out how to work, Tommy needs to be out there. Steele definitely needs to be out there. And CJ Hicks needs to play. And then after that, they start getting up on teams, start getting some of the other kids in there, let some playmakers maybe get developed and stuff like that. Because, I mean, I'm loving what we're hearing about some of these guys on defense. And the defensive line, I really do think we're going to kind of be back to one of the old LJ defensive lines. I mean, I
hope so,
I just really feel it. I really feel it because you're starting to really hear about. I mean, God, Mike Hall. I mean, what we're hearing about him right now is, I mean, dude's a freak. I mean, again, how many times am I going to use the word freak today? I mean, this guy's he just seems like he's in there all the time. Kenya Jackson's we're hearing. It sounds like JT is looking really good. Same with Sawyer. Let these kids play.
Caden Curry.
Yeah. Go hit the quarterback this year. I want to see sacks again. I want to see quarterbacks making bad mistakes and pick sixes and all the stuff that comes with it. And that's what I want to see.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to see CJ Hicks come in, if they are going to roll out that jack. I know they like Mitchell Melton there. I don't know how healthy he is. I'm assuming he is healthy. Because they've talked about him again, but I would like to see CJ Hicks get deployed in that role a little bit. Maybe Caden Curry too, because they've talked so highly on those guys. But also, and I got nothing against Steele Chambers. I think Steele is a really good player. I think he's a safe player. He's going to get drafted. I think maybe not the first half of the draft, but I don't see him going later than 4. I mean, I could be wrong too, because that stuff, it could all, how he tests out definitely changes, that. But I think he's can prove he's athletic enough that he'll be a high linebacker drafted. But I wouldn't mind, say Ohio State's up 2 scores, get Chambers out of there and let Tommy play with CJ for a series, see if CJ can create a turnover or whatever. Just, he's that type of talent, man, that raw just, and it sounds like he understands the playbook. So it's not just raw talent, but they just say he's just a different guy when it comes to measurables.
This is definitely not my thought. I heard it on one of the podcasts, one of the Beat Reporter podcasts. I can't remember which one now because this was a couple weeks ago. is Steele and CJ Hicks, is this kind of feeling like Grant and McClellan from 2014?
I'm okay with that.
Grant's Steele's the starter, but when you see at the end of the day, they kind of both have equal amounts of snaps. And,
I mean, I'd definitely be okay with that if that's how it ends up playing out. I mean, I still think, and I don't know what the split was between Curtis and Raekwon.
And I don't know the exact numbers, but I've heard them. They were pretty dead on between the two of them, that they were pretty even.
Yeah. So I don't know if it ends up being that, because I mean, Steele's a better linebacker than Curtis Grant.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Hicks might be better than Raekwon too. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. Gotta get them on the field. You gotta play your freaky athletes, because they're the ones that can really like take a game over, man. I mean, you know, it's not playing safe's cool. Playing not safe didn't really help us last year at different points. But I just think if you got freaky guys, you know, you can play super aggressive, and
I think there's a difference.
They can make up for stuff.
I think there's a difference, you know, not playing safe and just playing aggressively. I mean, if the defensive line can get back to where, you know, they're getting good pressure on the quarterback, you don't need to make some of the crazy aggressive things. And then you think about guys like, if somebody breaks the line of scrimmage, but there's guys like Sonny Styles out there and CJ Hicks possibly out there and Tommy out there, like, I don't want to run into those guys.
Right.
And those guys, their heads are going to be on swivels, because they're going to know that. They'll be like, you know, Sonny's, I mean, the dude's a shark. I mean, the guy is out here somewhere in the water, and, you know, I'm not going to be the one getting an 8. So, like,
and Berm said this is not me saying this at all, but like, CJ Hicks and the Jack, right? So if they had him doing that last year, and maybe he was good enough that he could have been on the field a lot last year as a true freshman, and you let Jack Sawyer do his thing as a defensive end, you know, that play against Michigan where Cornelius Johnson, Cam Brown misses that, you know, Sawyer's the guy that is kind of like, that tries to get to him, but he's just too slow. We can't get over there. If that's CJ Hicks, and I mean, Hicks got banged up, I think, the first play of that game anyways, but if that's CJ Hicks, he could probably run him down, or at least he closes a lot quicker than what Sawyer can. Or even if it's Sonny Styles, you know, like, you got to have those guys that can make up ground on the field. So I mean, I'm excited for all those dudes. They just got to find a way to get them on the field together so they can make a difference.
Yeah. So definitely, you know, we'll see what Jim Knowles is about this year, because he's got a loaded defense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, on paper, this is arguably, coming into the season, one of the best defenses that they've had in recent memory. So, and possibly for a long time.
And your depth pieces, that some of them are, you know, really senior players too, that they're good. Like Cody Simon's not a slouch.
Yeah,
you know?
They got a great balance of guys that have played have a lot of experience and have done a lot of good things, and just young talent. And so, you know, figure out how to utilize it, because as I'll talk about on the offense, the offense, you feel really, really, really good at where they have all their stud players at. You know, wide receiver, running back, tight end. I'm not worried about any of those positions. They have all the position players that they can throw at you. Now, coming into this show, and we were talking about it, you know, if this would have been a few days ago, I think my fear was more on the offensive line than it was on the quarterback room. And I think now that it's not so much fear, but I'm thinking that I'm starting to like where we're starting to hear that seems like at least the starting offensive line is starting to solidify itself. And it seems like the guys are getting better every day. So I'm feeling better when the offensive line.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous that one of these quarterbacks just has, and it's like, kind of reading between the lines and I know Ryan Day's a perfectionist and he's really judging them very, very hard. It just kind of seemed like reading between the lines of his press conference the other day is he's just not sold on these guys, on either one of them yet. And neither one of them is really, he's like, yeah, they've made good plays and they've made a lot of bad plays, and or however he worded it. And he basically said, neither one of them has done great, but neither one of them has done bad neither. It seems like the consistency is a real issue with both of them. So I would say, right now, like my fear marker, which a couple weeks ago was definitely on the offensive line because, Ryan Day has now performed so well with quarterbacks over the last several years, but it just seems like, maybe the offensive line will be a little bit more ready come the opener than maybe even the quarterbacks will. I don't know. It's just kind of me thinking out loud on some stuff.
Well, I mean, nobody really thought, that like CJ Stroud wasn't going to be the starter in 21. Yeah. Nobody really thought that Justin Fields wasn't going to start in 19, but he put up the same charade, or facade, whatever you want to say for those training camps too. And they actually didn't announce either one of those starters till after this date in those years. Yeah. So this isn't abnormal, and this is the best competition he's actually ever had. And I've told you, maybe it just means they're both playing that good. I don't know. That's probably not it, but I don't know what to take from it. I'm not too concerned. I think Day just wants to make sure. I mean, there is no value in one of these guys like transferring, like saying like, hey, I didn't get the starting job, so I'll put my name in the portal and I'm not going to play it all this year. Cause I don't think that matters because what's his face? Well, I guess McCord probably could redshirt. Not that it matters in the COVID years anyways, because he gets to play for 8 seasons or something like that. So what does it matter? I mean, but I think because was Brown considered a redshirt after last year, or did he get enough game time?
I don't remember.
I just don't remember him really coming in because they never took out CJ. So, I mean, I think Brown came in for maybe 1 or 2 games. So I don't think he's I think he got his red shirt.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any value in them leaving, without playing the season as a backup. Especially the tutelage a day. But I mean, you got to consider that stuff too. In this day and age, someone could just be pissy and say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm too good not to play. So if you're not going to start me, I'm putting my name in the portal. See you guys later. Jebbia and Keenholz are your backups now. So I don't think that's how it would play out because, like I said, there's no value in the player's growth to doing that.
Yeah.
But you got to consider that stuff. So I think he's making sure he's right. And I know people are like, why isn't it not McCord? Brown is a really good quarterback. Yeah. He deserves a chance.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that stuff too. And it's just like,
and I mean, you hear McCord's loose with the football and Day hates that.
Yeah. Like you said, we knew Stroud was going to be the starter and from the little things that would sneak out of camp, I mean, it was obvious that Stroud was performing the better of the two of them. So it's just from what I've heard, they've both made really good plays and they've both made really bad plays. And it's just that I just think he wants somebody just to grab it. I don't think I don't see Ryan Day wanting to do kind of what Harbaugh started off the season last year with Michigan, that, one's going to start one game and the one's going to start the next game because, what are you going to do? Give them each a half against Indiana, and then, one gets Youngstown State and one gets Western Kentucky. Well, Youngstown State and Western Kentucky, they should be able to destroy both of those teams. Right. So, that puts you nowhere for Notre Dame still. They both should have really good stats going up against Notre Dame. So,
but he should be able to see both of them in all those games.
Yeah, he should be able to see all of them in all those games. I just think he's the type of guy, he's a quarterback, and I think he's this type of guy that, kind of like what you're saying, that he wants to be correct on this one, because I don't think he wants to make a move come season. I think he wants this is my starter, and it might upset one of the other one and they might leave, but that's kind of the beast right now. And you got to figure probably in the back of his head if it's any one of them would leave, it'd probably be more McCord if he's not the one that gets the starter, because he's kind of getting to the point now in his
he's got to do something.
Where he's got to do something. Yeah. So it's he needs to start putting some tape out there and stuff, and for the next level. So I'm sure all that stuff is and I forget who brought this up. It might have been Bo Bishop, because I listened to his show a lot on The Fan, but this was a few days ago. He's also got to think about what does NIL do to that locker room? Because whichever one of them get named the starters, he's going to make a couple $1 million. I mean, we know that. So like, they're going to get some deals on this. I mean, Stroll made a couple $1 million, and so that's going to happen. And that I think he kind of has to be correct on that part too. And so I know some people are like, well, he can't judge that stuff. Well, you got to kind of judge that. Everything is now, and this is all new charted territory for all these guys. So it's still, they're getting better at figuring it out, but still, I mean, it's a thing that you got to throw there. You're going to have somebody making good money and somebody not, when they were just equal a couple weeks ago.
And I am about 99.99% sure with Ryan Day that he is not going to march someone out there that he feels is turnover prone. I mean, that guy, just out of anything, he hates carelessness with the ball, I think, more than anything. So, if all's equal, or even if one of them's a little bit ahead on plays, if they're making one bad play to 3 good plays, and the other one's making, 2 decent plays, but no bad plays, I think he's going to go with the one that's holds onto the ball, because he knows they both have talent.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And it seems like everything we're hearing from different beat reporters that there's not this big difference that everybody makes it out to be, that, one's the athlete and the other one's the thrower. It seems like they're both very comparable in both attributes. Both of them have an arm. McCord might be slightly better. Brown might be the slightly better runner, but McCord knows how to scramble and has shown that.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't seem like that's either way that they're too off. It's just, I think whoever it is this, that I think they need to draw some plays up this year and, make it easy on them to get going in the year, maybe throw some easier passing plays out there. You guys, a great stable of running backs. I mean, just get them into the season and get them moving, and I think they'll be fine.
Fix your stretch run approach, though.
Yes.
If anything, please. I feel like they might have did a little bit better with that last year, because if you remember 21, the backside end just collapsed every single time and always made the play down the line.
Yeah. I think they got better.
Fix that run, though.
I think part of me
drives me insane.
I'm really last year's running that there is part of me that's like, did they not fix it, or just Mayan and Trey were so banged up for the whole season that neither one of them were really ready to run. So.
And maybe there is some truth to the whole kind of both being the guy mess with both of their heads, and they were trying to hit home runs too much or something.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So to get the quarterbacks going, though, you need a good line in front of them. So it was a little nerve wracking the last couple of weeks. You heard a lot of different things, and that didn't seem like the starters were doing too well. There was some different movement. It seems like they maybe are starting to fall onto something that they, are working with. It seems like Fryer has moved more back to his more natural position, which was right tackle. Seems like Josh Simmons is going to take the left tackle spot. And, I said this to you yesterday, as long as it's that Josh Simmons has just beat him out for the left tackle spot, and that he's actually ready to be the left tackle, and not the fact that they both are, neither one of them are that great at left tackle. He's just a little bit of a better one. Then I'm fine. I'm like, if Josh Simmons if that is more his natural fit and he's better and Fryer is better on the other side, then cool. I'm good with that. I know what we're getting with Donovan and with Matt Jones, and it seems like Hinsman, from what we're hearing, is looking really good at center. So,
well, yeah, it sounds like he definitely puts in the work and everything.
Yeah. So I'm definitely liking where the offense line is starting out. The backup line is still a little shaky, but when you really think about it, you're trying to find 7 guys. You're looking for, two backups that can really cover, the line. So it seems like there's a couple pieces on that backup line that are not bad. And we'll be fine if those guys if those are number 6 and 7, then I'm okay. You rarely get into a position where, more than 3 guys go down for extended periods of time. So, that's why you need at least 2, knock on wood. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's rare that you usually, as long as you can hold, as long as 7 guys are there, kind of 3 on the outside and, 3 for the middle or 4 for the middle, that you're kind of fine. Mm-hmm. And so I'm definitely liking that. It seems like that maybe from what we're hearing from different reports is that unit's they're starting to get clarity there and it's starting to gel. And then I think that is good. They got some nice buffer. They got Indiana and a couple buffer games to get to Notre Dame so they can make some issues. They can let some of those issues out. They should be able to be 3-0. I mean, I don't see how even Indiana, which, I mean, it will be a opener. It's going to be an opener that, it's a Big Ten opener. I'm expecting Ohio State to make mistakes and stuff like that. But Ohio State still has the talent on the field to beat Indiana.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tom Allen's going to throw a lot at them. He will. Yeah, but they're a much more talented team. They should beat Indiana in the second half easily. Yeah.
So I think there's some good warm-up games that they can figure things out. And as long as the offensive line is gelled up and ready for Notre Dame, and that whoever the quarterback is ready to go, then I think I'm liking where they're going to start the season off at. It's starting to feel a little bit better about some stuff. Just a little nervous about the quarterback, but I do trust Ryan Day, and the guy has, as long as he's being blocked for good, he's going to have the world of weapons to, get the ball out to. So just get your weapons the ball. Don't overthink stuff as the quarterback. You don't have to be Joe Montana, Tom Brady, whoever out there, like, whatever Patrick Mahomes superstar you want to throw out there, you don't need to be that in this offense. You don't even need to be the last 3 quarterbacks in this offense. That, just be a game manager and you're fine.
No, well, as long as those tackles let them stay up, they'll be fine.
Yes, exactly. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
I'm good, sir.
All right. I say it's a good bar show for tonight. So let's get on out of here.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for stopping in tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.